And we're live. Welcome to episode 177 of the SideQuest podcast.
Yep.
Featuring Fran Marabella and 5,000 watts.
Hello.
You got the number this week.
I looked right
prepped.
before we went live.
We didn't even ask him.
I have to type it like 3 times before we start the show. Every show, I have to type it like 3 times. Does it like register anywhere in my brain? No. Not even like, not even the first number. Like, not even that we're in the hundreds.
Like looking at a recipe where you're like, 1 clove of
gobbledygook at this
garlic.
point.
How much of garlic was that? 1 clove of garlic. How much garlic was that? 1 clove of garlic.
Yeah.
What was it?
I feel
Quarter
that.
cup water?
I see that we cook much the same.
I'm the same way.
I'm just
Always
looking like, what
doubting.
was that again? Okay, got it.
My wife won't let me anywhere near the kitchen if she's in it because I just infuriate her with that kind of thing. We had a Nintendo Direct this week. I got a little bit of, I got a little side game news, right? Okay, so
Okay.
this weekend I went to a golf tournament. It was a 2-day golf tournament up in Massachusetts. I can't say where it is because I was specifically asked not to reveal where it was because it was a private course and I was invited by somebody on the member list whose name is public.
Cult members?
Well, I
Is it a
guess
cult? Is there an owl that
golfing
you
could
guys
be a little
stand
bit like a
around?
cult.
It can be. It can
People
be,
are very obsessed, and but we won, and not only did we win, I won like $2,000.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
What?
I am now a professional golfer.
Officially, yeah. You made money from
wait, though.
the thing. Pro golfer.
Yeah,
It's just a point of clarity. Did you play really well or did they play real bad?
I played really well, like way above my ability, like way above it.
Isn't
You know,
that
like
awesome when
are
it's
we
happening?
talking?
You're
Do
like,
we have some?
oh my God, it's happening.
Yeah, you just
What's
try not to
happening?
think
birdies?
about what's going on.
Yeah.
You just give me another beer, man. I don't know what's going on here. I'm just riding the wave.
It's like me with
See-
bowling. I'm like, things are just working. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Don't question it, or it's
Don't
gonna all
change
go
it.
wrong.
Did you get some birdies, Briar?
Got some birdies. I had eagle, which was
What? Really?
Yeah.
Dang, this
Yeah.
guy
Wow.
on a par 5, I assume.
Yes, of course. Yes.
But that's still incredible.
yeah, it was
You almost can't get an eagle.
super
on it.
fun, and it was at like one of those like real exclusive private clubs too, which is like, you know, I feel like a imposter just being anywhere near
Right.
that place, right? I feel like my parents are there. You know what I mean? Like I'm a
Yeah, yeah.
kid, and like not my parents, but like my girlfriend's parents are like constantly watching me. You know that feeling? Like you're just like on your best behavior.
Yep.
Oh man, it was really fun though, and there was a CEO Street Fighter 6 tournament this weekend, which I didn't get to watch, but I plan to watch at least the highlights from it this week. But that's like the first like major Street Fighter 6 tournament, which was interesting. I don't even know who won. Don't spoil it, chat.
You'll be happy to know that Mylan's last stream yesterday, he jumped into Street Fighter.
Oh, how'd he do? What do you think?
He had no idea what was happening. First of all, he picked Classic right away when he
Okay.
hasn't played a fighting game since he was 12, and that was Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
So everyone was like, maybe you should use modern, you know? Maybe just use modern. Because they're in the tutorial, they ask you to do half circles and some other stuff like pretty early on.
He didn't know
In
what that
modern,
was.
you don't need to do that. It took a little bit. It took a
Okay.
little bit to get some of the tutorial done, for sure.
I mean, doesn't it just like default you to modern right away? Like when you jump in,
He
no matter
changed
what.
it.
It does,
Because
yeah.
you get to pick right at the beginning, and he was like, I should just go classic, right? But he wants to be a Cammy main. He has purchased her outfit.
Everybody wants to be a Cammy main.
I think we talked about Cammy
Let me tell
last
you,
week,
it's
too.
a lot easier to get.
We're
your
gonna talk
ass
about her
beat
more too.
when you're looking at the booty. You're like,
Yeah.
I died, but hey, you know, I'm not having a bad time.
Wow, there are
Feel-
some
feel
Marissa
good
mains
about
out
it.
there. Marissa is a interesting prospect. High on the tier list.
I haven't finished going through the VOD, but he jumped straight into ranked and was like, I'm just gonna button mash. So that's
Nice. So, do you know how he placed? Did he?
I
Did he
don't
get
think he's
placements?
finished his placements
Oh, okay.
yet. I'm not totally sure, but yeah, certainly fun to watch.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
Milan's fun to watch no matter what he's doing.
He's a fun streamer, you know.
All right. So Nintendo
Still-
Direct, should we talk about it? Should we just jump into the new Super Mario game? Is it called Super Mario Wonder? Is that what it's
Super
called?
Mario Bros. Wonder.
Bros. Wonder.
Super Mario Bros.
So it's a new 2D side-scrolling Mario game, right? Kind of
Yeah.
along the lines of the new Super Mario Brothers series, right?
Exactly.
But I don't know. It looks.
It's very shiny.
Yeah, it looks very shiny. The graphics are, I would say, much improved over what we were seeing on the 3DS. But also, it just looks more creative and like whimsical in a way that those new Super Mario Brothers games I thought were good, but they didn't like blow me away with their creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like Mario's gotten to a point where if you've played Mario, you know what to expect. It's a little harder to surprise, but they are always a lot of fun. So I think it's hard to look at a Mario game for me personally. You know what I mean? And to be like, wow, I can't wait to play that. It's but again, it's not that I don't want to play it. It's that once I get my hands on it, the wonder, if you will then I will feel it. I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. I mean, Nintendo games tend to be like that a lot. But especially Mario. I mean, and if you've been living with Mario for, 20, 30, 40 years, like you get to that point where it's like, okay, it's more Mario. But
yeah,
again, I think once you get your hands on it, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does look like it's going to be a lot of fun. I like the way they did the animation, too. There's something about it. I mean, it's clearly like 3D animation, no doubt about it. But it's just animated like you would kind of see the old 2D stuff animated, where it's like there's like just frames in there that are kind of extra. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to be there to portray what's going on. They just add personality to the characters.
Yeah, like when the cats cook in Monster Hunter. You don't need to have cooking cats, but it makes you go, oh man, I sure do love cooking cats. Not cooking them for food, but
Was is eating cats. Oh my god,
that adds up. I've always wondered why it always seems like a new cat over there. They also announced a new, the Super Mario RPG remake, which is based on the 25-year-old Super Mario RPG that was developed by Nintendo and Square for the Super NES.
Yeah, that was some of the biggest news probably for fans, because that has been, I think, emulator release in the past, so you could go back and play the 1996. Like, it's a revered classic, which back then it was like, man, are Nintendo and Square even really going to work together much anymore? And they were doing stuff for PlayStation, and
that's right.
that was kind of the last of it for a while, actually. But everybody loved it, and so now it's like a full-on, gameplay, graphics, and cinematics remake.
Yeah, and it looks
full
good.
$60 release.
That makes sense, right? For a remake of this magnitude, don't you think that makes sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You bring up a good point. I'm way more resilient to the price stuff. I think it's a much longer conversation. Like I know
we got a whole hour.
Yeah, I know. Like people are concerned about money, and I am too. But when it comes to like quality developers, quality looking games, I'm pretty resilient. People get into like just a lot. Is it really worth 70? And then it's like, well, maybe it's like $54.99, and I'm like. There's a lot that goes into the other side of it for me is the like, do you want to see more games like this? Do you want this developer to stay around? Blah, blah, blah. Developers go out of business all the time, or just like projects get canceled. Like, so I've been bringing up like Callisto Project a lot recently because Dead Space remake I think did very well.
Yeah.
And it was the team that made Callisto Project, a lot of them anyway, had worked on that, and they're trying to create like a new vision, but they need the time, the money, the success to do that. And Callisto had some really cool stuff in it, even if, it needed some more work in some ways. But anyway, that to me is a good example. People will be like, I don't know, I'll wait till it's on sale. And it's like, well, if you do, you're probably just going to get Dead Space remakes. So that's the basis of that. But anyway, when it comes to
Callisto Protocol DLC is coming out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, is it really?
Maybe that's why it was on mine too. Yeah, the final chapter, which they had already talked about when they released it, that it was going to have a seasonal DLC or whatever at some point.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. But let me caveat what I just said. At least with the when it comes to Nintendo, they have a war chest of money. So in that case, I can be, a little more critical about the technology behind the games and all this other stuff. But anyway, to more simply answer the question, I think Super Mario RPG Remake, yeah, for now, until we see it and see how much work they've done on the cutscenes and the gameplay and how it runs and all that, it's way too early to say, but I don't have a problem with the price, especially for a fantastic game. And again, do you want to wait another 40 years for a remake of something?
No. They have been
pony up
doing
if
a
you
lot
like
of
it.
remakes lately, right?
Yeah.
That's all they do.
I
Feels
do have.
like, I mean, hyperbole. But
It sticks in my craw a little bit when Nintendo started charging $70 for some of their games on the Switch. Like, I'll be honest.
Is it just Zelda? Isn't that the
Is
only...
it just Zelda? Because
I see. I don't know if there's anything except for Zelda, which I think is an easy, like, yeah, of course.
yeah, well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, of course I'm gonna buy it for $70. They could have made it
worth
for
it
$100, and I would have bought it, right?
You make it sound like a hostage situation, though. Like,
well, it is Zelda.
that's why I want you to answer. I don't know how much Zelda you've played. Is it worth the $70 to you?
Yeah.
And if not, why not?
I
wrong
think it
answer.
is. It's merely the fact that the price of Switch games was $60. Then, PS5 and Xbox, updated their pricing to be $70, and Nintendo's just like, yeah, we're gonna do that too on this old hardware. And it's hard. Like, I'm sure they could justify the cost because developing video games costs more money than it used to.
Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
So if it flops,
yeah. But still,
again, do you? Yeah.
it's on the Switch.
I mean, I think there's no, they did like magic with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on Switch.
Yeah,
that's
if
true. You're gonna, that's exactly what I'm getting at, right? Like, people will buy again like a $39.99. It's more than half the price of Zelda, and it's like an old, like, I could go into the Nintendo store right now and find it. So you'd be like, dude, yeah, that game was dope. Yeah, I bought it. You wouldn't think twice about it because it was $40 or whatever, $39.99.
Yeah.
And then, like, as soon as you get into the higher end territory, and I get like people concerned about money, but I think the conversation, it's lost its nuance, in my opinion.
Well, I got another problem.
There's plenty of games that are ripoffs.
So I got another
They
problem.
tend to
Like,
not-
sometimes there's like a $70 game, and it's just packed full of DLC in addition to that. Like Ubisoft, I would say, was a main, they would do that, right? And like that sticks in my craw too. I'm like, well,
it feels like they
it's easier for me to justify buying like a free to play game or even a $30 game or a $40 game and having it packed full of DLC or packed full of microtransactions. But when I'm buying like a premium product, I'm like, well, I already put the money up front. Like, I don't want more stuff to be unlocked. I don't want to get, faster XP if I put another $20 into it. Like, I already bought the game.
Are you talking about microtransactional stuff?
Microtransactions or additional purchases or,
honestly, like the state of the gaming industry, it's a little scary because games are taking like 10 years to make. They're costing an absurd amount of money that, when you've invested that amount of time and that amount of money into a game, yeah, you're going to have a full price game. You're going to have DLC. You're going to have microtransactions. You're going to have everything just to keep the industry afloat. And they can't keep doing that. Either you got to like make cheaper games that take less time to make and charge the same amount of money or charge more money. It's a little concerning, right? Everyone's trying to make these like billion-dollar games. Whereas like it's $100 million to make this game. It's massive. Play it forever. I don't think it's sustainable at all.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's why you got to break it down into the details. It's like Redfall was not worth $70. When they came to the finish line and spent the money, and it was like it just was all mixed up. And,
that's the title of the show.
Yeah,
Redfall, not $70.
Right, but they tried to sell it, and it had like an additional vanity pack item, and like they tried to do everything you're talking about. But for the consumer, it was a miss on that. But you could also have just got it for $9.99 on Game Pass, soon to be $10.99, by the way, getting a price increase.
And they no longer do their $1 for the first month. Wow.
Oh yeah, they don't. But still, for $9.99, you could have tried it. You don't like it, that was the risk that, well, I didn't want to pay, because some people do want to own a game forever when it's really good. But anyway, in that example, it's crystal clear. But I think, but that's the important part, is to lump Zelda into it, to lump Final Fantasy 16 into it. Totally, to me, is like you can't just lump it in. You got to have the conversation.
I would easily pay $200 for Final Fantasy.
But see, but
if they were like, "Hey,
it's not worth $200." But to
oh.
some people, it might be, right? But
It is.
But when you look at the ecosystem of games, is all I'm saying. And yeah, it is interesting. You look $60 for Super Mario RPG Remake, 1996, but we haven't seen the gameplay, sort of upgrades and the cinematic upgrades like in full yet. So we'll see. But yeah, you could easily be like, you're like, that's not fair. Versus like all the cutscenes and all of the work in Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah,
by the way, both
crazy.
Square RPGs. Why is this one 85% of the price or whatever that math is? That's interesting, isn't it? But Brian, you know what I mean? If you love Super Mario RPG, do you have any problem with paying $60?
No, not really.
Yeah, see,
Nintendo,
the $10 is a breaking point. I get people.
Yeah. The $10 is, well, it just sticks in my craw. It's not stopping
you don't
me from
paying $69. It's nice.
It's not stopping me from buying anything. It's just like, well, you just did this because everybody else is doing it, and you knew you could get away with it.
And again, that's not. That is an accusation, and I think it definitely is true. Like for Redfall.
No, my uncle
why
works
did
at
they
Nintendo.
do that? Exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
but and you're right, and I would actually argue it's the same for the $59 price point for Super Mario RPG Remake.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into the financial, but you're absolutely right on that for some. But in other cases, it's not. They're trying to be more ambitious. They're trying to also support other games. Like I brought that up about Astacross's recent video on Destiny. Talked about, oh well, they're just trying to take your money to fund Marathon. I mean, that is paraphrasing. He didn't say it quite like that, but there was an indication that Destiny is funding Marathon. I'm like, first of all, like newsflash. You wouldn't have Destiny without Halo. You wouldn't have World of Warcraft without Diablo 2. That's how it works. If gamers forgot that, Forspoken was potentially a big flop from a financial side for Square Enix. I don't know that we know yet.
Yeah.
PlayStation might have funded some of it, etc. But it probably was a flop. But like they charged $70 for it, and again, it's a good example. Like if they don't even recoup the costs. That can spell trouble for Final Fantasy games even. So, anyway.
That's a good point.
I told you not to let me go off on this tangent.
I'm enjoying it.
Random thing, Outriders still haven't made any profit, which is crazy.
Outriders is not profitable.
Outriders has not, as of now, still has not turned a profit.
And they're coming out with a new DLC?
I think
no.
They had a DLC.
Did they talk about? Yeah, they had one.
But I don't know if they're doing more.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard.
And like Outriders is not a bad game.
It's not a great
game.
It
had a lot of problems.
Had a rocky launch, but
yeah, but I think especially looking at games coming out now, I'm actually like, it's not that bad.
We should just disclose. I'm wearing an Outriders shirt that they sent to me.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have an
Bought
Outriders.
And paid
And Watts
for.
has an Outriders coffee.
Damn.
I played. I
Welcome to the
campaign.
Outriders Community Podcast,
I didn't enjoy
sponsored
the
by
end
Outriders.
Game, okay.
Welcome, fellow Outriders.
Welcome to DCP Live Side Riders.
Side Riders. That's the name of the episode.
Side
Riders.
Riders. I don't know. You better Google that first.
Maybe
right.
we'll get a whole new audience. It'll be good for us.
That's true. This is good. Always seeing the positive side.
There could be a downside to that.
That's right. But look, I think that you're absolutely getting. Or no, I don't think. You are getting overcharged by Nintendo for a number of games. There's no question about it. I just, it's important, I think, to break down those details. And that's what's really interesting is you guys nailed what we talk a lot about in the review world, right? Of like, the price is separate from your subjective like review of is this a good game or not? Because what happens is everybody, like Watts jokingly said, I would pay $200 for this. because
Mhm.
it's incredible to her. So subjectively,
Yeah.
it's going to be very hard for her to be like, why are you arguing that it should be 40? But I don't care. It's amazing.
And I
right?
tip me
You should
game
play it.
devs. Open up every game studio. Open up like a tip jar.
A tip jar.
And
Yeah.
if I think their
Patreon.
game's great, I'll be like, shout out.
That's what the collector's editions are for. That's why
That's true.
they
That's
should
true.
sell those collector's editions like after the release of the game. So people who like, oh my god, I love this game. I want everything from it. Can have
I'm
access to
feeling
it.
that right now.
Instead, they pre-order, like they make it like a pre-order
That's an
thing.
interesting concept.
But
Yeah.
and like you can't get it. Like so, if you fall in love with like Elden Ring, after I played Elden Ring, I would have bought that Melania statue like Watts got. I would have bought it because I loved it so much.
She's missing her sword because it's over there. But
Yeah, they should call it like the what do we call it? Like the Celebrators edition? Or
Yeah.
the we got to come up with a better name, but that's actually would be cool. It was interesting because in the back of my mind I was going to say, but I was like, there's a lot of nuance again to I think how you would frame this, but like they're artists and content creators too, right? It's like
Oh,
there
100%.
there is a huge piece of this, and indie developers always get it. They get the raw, call it content creator support. When it comes to the bigger studios, and rightly so, people get a lot more like it smells fishier. Everything is under the microscope.
AAA gets fishy.
Because
Yeah, it's true.
they got
but
Bobby
in other
Kotick's up in there.
words- That's right. Yeah, and they do. and
Nobody
they're
wants to
skimming
give
off
that
the-
asshole any money.
I don't
And-
want to
and
give them money. Let me
that
tip
is-
individual game devs working on the game. I'll be like, oh, you worked on this cutscene? That cutscene was great. Here you go. Here, have some money.
Yeah, that would be dope. Actually,
I would actually love to do that. I always want to tell people who are in these studios who are responsible for these little things of the game, like, this was incredible, but I don't know where to find them. But I would love to actually tell the person how much I appreciate their work.
Yeah, I think they could sell vanity items too for like sort of like a collector, like a. Yeah, if there's a way to get like a collector's, I want to use the word NFT, but you get the idea. Like a limited time. I mean, it CS:GO right on Steam has done stuff like that, but I think there's a future there. Could be really interesting, like a little collector's thing. That I was here, I loved it. I'm gonna give you extra support because I want to see more Outriders, let's say, and hey, maybe that boosted them the profitability and they got to live their dream and create whatever the next game was or more DLC.
In-game
Like-
items, especially on like single-player games that like I finish in 80 hours or whatever, don't really cut it for me because I'm less likely to buy them because I want to be wearing the stuff that the developers intended me to wear.
You
Like,
wanna wear it.
I want to look like I'm supposed to look, or like it makes sense in the story. And then after I finish the game, I don't really often go back, even if I loved it, even if I really loved it. I don't really often go back and replay it. And that's, I feel like, when you would like, oh, I'm gonna wear the afro in every cutscene,
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. I feel that way too. I tend to keep that stuff for later, and then it's more about the time. I'm like, well, I'd love to play New Game Plus of this or more, but I'm like, I just can't. Too much to play. But there were a lot more Nintendo announcements, by the way.
Oh yeah, what else was there?
Dude, a lot. I want to hit you with. I'm going to skip forward on. It was a little lower down the list, but something that had me very excited. But I want to get a little raw reaction from you guys on something. Batman Arkham Trilogy is coming to
yes.
Switch, which that series from Rocksteady is incredible. It is being ported by another developer. I forget the name of them. So it will be a port. I believe they run on Unreal, and Switch is finally getting to the point that like Unreal. Forget there was a recent. I thought that there's another. Harry Potter runs on Unreal. We'll see, but anyway, they're starting to run better on Switch at the end of its life cycle. They figured out things, but anyway, I have high hopes that it will not be a bad port. I would only expect, hopefully, a good locked 30 frames a second. But
The series has seen bad ports before.
it's coming. Yeah, this series has had bad launch issues on PC. I think Arkham Knight, sort of famously, and all that. But anyway, here's the news. It's coming out in fall. We don't know the price yet. I'm guessing it'll be probably a $60 package. These games tend to go for $20 a pop. But what's interesting is that, Brian, don't you like physical editions of stuff?
Yeah.
So this one, you can, in the FAQ, you can buy, I believe it's the first Arkham Asylum in the series, a physical edition. And then the other two, you can download.
Oh,
So you can buy the trilogy, but the 2 other ones are digital-only downloads attached to the cartridge as a physical.
that's not the first time I've seen this. I've seen it with other games. I think the Mega Man collection was like that, where on the cartridge there's like 6 games total, but on the cartridge only 3 of them were on the cartridge. You downloaded the other 3. Anyway, this is better than getting like the, what is it called when you don't actually download the game? This is basically a code so that you can play like a server-based version of the game, which I think.
You mean cloud?
Cloud game, yeah.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
happens occasionally.
Yeah, it's
with
not that in
Switch.
this case. But...
Yeah. I mean, it stinks, but I understand why they're doing it because it's so much cheaper to buy a cartridge that just holds 1 game instead of all 3 games. And I think Arkham City is a big ass game too, right?
Yeah.
It is a very big game, yeah.
But like from a physical buyer,
Yeah, it
does that
stinks.
bother you much, or
I probably won't
or
buy
you
this
are right
anyway.
because at least you have, like, in other words, does it satisfy you that you're like, how do they do it too? I don't even know. Does it say on the box that it's the trilogy, right? But the cartridge is just
it probably does say
one
on the
game.
box in very small letters. It does mean that I won't buy this physically.
because of that.
Well, I wasn't gonna buy it anyway because I've already played these
Kind of
games,
agree.
right?
So there you go.
Yeah. Like I've already
But
played.
what if
these
you want to
games.
play it on the toilet or an airplane?
I mean, I still probably could on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, you can probably.
I don't know. Did that?
I don't know how
Did
it runs,
Arkham
though.
Knight ever actually get? Because they
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
they pull it
got
off?
patched.
Oh, okay.
They
did they pull it out
um,
off sale and then put it back on sale?
I don't think they ever pulled it, but
No,
I
it was
could
bad.
be wrong,
though.
but they had to. No, I mean, I played it on Epic Games Store recently last year, before Gotham Knights actually came out, and it was. I was like, I had forgotten about all the drama, and everybody was like, "Oh wow, this actually looks pretty good now," and I was like, "Well," and that was before I upgraded my PC, even I think so.
Yeah. Well, it's been what, like 6-7 years, maybe even 10. When did that
Came to
version come out?
PC in
2015.
2015.
Yeah, actually, it's been exactly 8 years, I think.
So I mean,
Literally, yeah, it was.
I'm sure they
ages
patched
ago.
it. Plus, our computers have gotten a lot more powerful to power through them.
I had a 5 or 6 year old PC last year when I played it. Granted, with a newer graphics card, like a 3080, but yeah, it was solid. I played it at 1080p, but still, it was zooming well above 60.
Does it bother you that it doesn't come with the 2 games on the cartridge?
No, I'm not like I think I touched on previous shows. Like I just don't have space for the physical, so
Yeah.
the whole conversation I'm not as attached to anymore. But if I was to put my buying hat on, buying a box that says Batman Arkham Trilogy, yeah, if there's not good disclosure, I'd be pretty pissed when I got home. And I'm like, wait a second, what? And if it's like fine print on the back, I'd be like, why did I buy this? Like, I wanted to have, I don't know why you would want 3 dumb Switch, like, mini cartridges for this. But, like, if that's you and you want it, it'd piss me off. Or actually, maybe you're a Batman collector, right?
Yeah.
And you own a lot of that. I'd be pretty pissed if it wasn't, like, obvious.
Yeah.
So they better be on the front of the box.
Well, for game preservation's sake, it's a problem. You know, these games are, preserved in other ways. They're just not the Switch version. If you are a collector, you might be perturbed about it, but, in 20 years, is that going to affect the price of this cartridge? Like, if you're that kind of collector that's just price conscious about future investment, I mean, it's
yeah.
I don't know. Like, it doesn't really bother me, to be honest with you. As long as they're upfront
Yeah, and
and
you're
clear
way
about what's
closer
going
to
on.
Yeah, it was less about the price and more about the display of it, where I'm like, well, I only have 1 cartridge. But anyway, well, that's good to hear, actually. I didn't know if you were going to be sort of like more like perturbed about it.
No.
Briar's no longer perturbed. He is
No
living
longer.
the sweet life of golfing on his kayak.
Paying $70 for games. He loves it. Related to this, Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 1, Master Collection or something they call it. So that is coming out October 24th. So Metal Gear is also coming to Switch, the full collection. That's MGS, MGS2, MGS3, not to be confused with the remake of MGS3, which is in the future. And then it's going to include, I guess, the original Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. Remember, those are, I think, NES games originally, right? Snake's Revenge, and a screenplay book containing in-game text of each title, and a master book detailing the story and characters. So, anyway, if you're in Metal Gear, it's another exciting, like, collection. that's coming out. So
Yeah, that is pretty fun.
oh, we should have mentioned too. Super Mario Bros. Wonder comes out October 20th.
That's crazy that game is kept secret until now. No, I mean, that game was not leaked at all, right? Nobody knew about that.
No, yeah, totally brand new.
And it's
then
coming out
Super Mar-
like 3 months.
Yeah, and then Super Mario RPG remake comes out in November, so we don't have to wait long.
Is Super
November
Mario
17th.
RPG on the online store like that? You know, like if you subscribe to the online, is it in there
Oh,
for like the Super NES?
the
emulator?
original. That's a good question. Can you play like the old? I would think maybe, but I don't know. Actually, it was emulated on the Switch. I don't know if it on the Wii or Wii U or something. So I don't know that it is. Good question. Probably not, knowing how they know it. Like, to me, I feel like we would have heard. It's a huge game. I feel like I would have probably heard anyway. Be like, oh my god, I can play Super Mario, RPG on my Switch. So I'm gonna guess not. I'll try to look it up right now. So that was big, and they had a big slew of other stuff.
Did you see Myth Force?
I don't know much about Myth Force. I saw.
So this one, I'm just reading the write up on GameSpot. Inspired by Saturday morning cartoons, this new first-person fantasy game allows you to wield magic, melee weapons, and bows in 4-player co-op action. It's already out on Steam, very early access, and it'll be landing on Switch later this year. This made me just want to look it up on Steam because it looks like
It's like Dragon's
1980s like animation like on Saturday morning.
Yeah, Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah,
it's very
totally
Dragon's
Hanna-Barbera.
Lair.
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera, toon shaded. It's cool looking.
It is cool looking.
I don't know much about it. Does it cost $70? Probably not. Probably not.
I'm out.
Yeah, there's a demo available right now. It just says that it's coming soon. I don't know that we have a price point on it yet.
Okay. Pikmin 4 got announced. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Did you guys play
the
Luigi's
3DS.
Mansions?
Yeah.
I haven't
I didn't
in
get-
a long time.
They're solid. I didn't get to finish the 3DS one, Dark Moon, here, but it's good.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't
you
realize this is a remake of not a remake, a port of the 3DS game. I didn't realize. I thought this was a new
Right,
game.
exactly.
My
Yeah,
bad.
It's not new. It's just that. But that's
Visually
still
enhanced
exciting.
port, it says.
Funnily enough, per my exam, it's perfect for me. I'm like, oh, I never finished it, so I can check that out. Watts, do you play mini Nintendo games these days? Would you say?
No.
Yeah,
Almost
you have a Switch.
zero. I have a Switch. There are very, very, very few games that would entice me to play on the Switch that I wouldn't play on just another platform. And I don't have any interest in Zelda, so that would really be the only one. So yeah, I don't really have a reason to play. Maybe Pikmin, but yeah, the last game I played on there was Monster Hunter Rise, because it was only on Switch at that point, and then it came to Steam, and I just started over on Steam because I didn't do the same thing when it went from PlayStation to PC, but going from Switch to PC
That's
was a big difference.
Big difference.
It was a big difference. So yeah, it was very, very, very noticeable and a massive upgrade. So yeah, that's the only game that I've played on Switch anytime recently.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I have my Switch. I love Nintendo games and everything, but finding the time for them and the circumstances, because I used to play a lot more when I was like traveling or on a plane, and I just don't do that as
That's
much.
a good point.
So I just am not compelled to do. Yeah, like I'm more likely to sit down and keep grinding Diablo and get back to Zelda. I mean, I guess in that case it is Switch, but other than that, it's every 6 years moment. Actually, I'm looking forward to Pikmin 4, but
I've
Yeah,
never
Pikmin's
played a
easy.
Pikmin game. I might check this one out just to see what all the fuss is about, because people really
Like-
do
Looks
like
good.
did you ever
Very
like
good.
StarCraft and Command and Conquer?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like this Nintendo adventure twist on that RTS. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty adorable as well. But the boss fights are a lot of fun. Like imagine throwing your big, your group of enemies at this like big boss in a garden, and they're just hanging off it, trying to pull its eyeball out, kind of thing. But it's like types of Pikmin that you're trying to figure out what is weak. You also have to grow, the real time strategy part. You got to go back and you're like planting the right ones and trying to figure out your mix.
Pigmen are plants?
Yeah, they're
Yes,
they're
they're
like
sentient
seed
moving
people.
plants.
Okay.
Something like that. I don't know the official lore, but sentient moving plants. Yeah.
Well,
As
if
far as
anybody feels like their Switch has been unused for too long, good news. Vampire Survivors is coming.
Oh, it is.
So
Yeah,
now you
that's
can
true.
put 100 hours on your Switch.
And on your phone, and on your PC, and on your console.
Yeah.
It is a perfect game for Switch, so
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yeah. I played it mainly on the Steam Deck, and it's just perfect because, like, just having it like in the palm of your hands, being able to just relax with it, it is a perfect game for that. Portable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, and it is couch co-op with up to 4 players, so that's also really cool.
It is.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah. August 17th.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's pretty
boy.
cool. People come over. I'll have them play that. That's when we
Yeah,
do use the
that's
Switch. Is Mario Party.
Mario
Super
Party.
Mario
People
Party.
come over, do some Mario Party.
I don't like that game.
You lose friends when you play Mario Party.
Yeah.
It's one of those types of games.
I think that's right. I don't know. This seemed like a big Nintendo Direct. There's a lot of stuff in here.
A lot of
Yeah.
people were very happy about it, and
Yeah.
I was like, I felt like, yeah.
Not for you.
Yeah, I
though.
mean, well, as
Not at
a
all.
long-time Nintendo fan, I thought like the usual like overreaction from Nintendo fans was that like, of course we're excited for a new Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Like a brand new Mario is always exciting. That was a
Right.
big one, right? That's for them. It's like PlayStation announcing another Last of Us or Uncharted. It's big.
No, yeah, I don't like those games either.
It's funny to even compare those to Mario, but it's the Super Mario remake. I think is what really RPG remake is what really just pushed everybody into ultra hype mode because everything.
Oh yeah,
else,
I totally get it. It's just so out
Yeah.
of my ecosystem of gaming. I've played
Yeah.
a lot of Nintendo games, but I don't really care for them anymore. There's so many other games out there. There's like 2 games coming out every day that I'm interested in, and
Yeah.
so
wonder
far
if
down
you'd
on
like
my list.
Pikmin though. Have you ever played Pikmin?
Yeah, I like Pikmin.
Yeah,
Well, when I
okay.
played it,
Yeah.
a very long time ago.
Yeah, it's probably like a time thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
Is it fair to say you would play Pikmin 4, but you probably just won't for time reasons?
It would be at a bottom of a list of a packed list.
Exactly.
A more packed than usual list this year, I bet.
Yeah.
I generally don't play that many Nintendo games in general. My Switch is more for third-party games or like so the Switch has gotten a lot of like kind of classic games either remastered or re-released from like the 16-bit eras, which I have really been enjoying, and a lot of shooters like shoot 'em ups that I've been really enjoying as well. So most of my Switch time comes from like more indie side or like classic games, which I've really liked it for because it's so fun to be able to play. Oh, they released all the Castlevania games, and you can just play them on Switch now. And there's like save states, and there's extra features and all this stuff, and that's fun.
I'd
like
definitely play more Switch if I did not have a Steam Deck, but the
that's
Steam
also
Deck
true.
for me
Steam
is
Deck did
like
cut down my.
so many indie games never make it to Switch, or if they do, it's like years later. So I just play it all on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, I do
Since
like
you
the Switch,
guys-
especially the OLED one though.
Yeah. Since you guys play Steam Deck, sounds like seriously sometime, right? Like,
Oh, very
Sit 'em out.
seriously. There's no joy to be had. It's all
Yeah.
business.
but-
I have my
My
counting
business.
software.
in other
on
words,
there.
versus like, I want to check this out just because it's on Steam Deck versus like, oh, I totally am playing it on the couch.
I only
Off
play
and on.
QuickBooks on my Steam Deck.
That'd be me. But with that in mind, do you think, let's assume that the PlayStation handheld device that they're releasing works well. So you
That's a
gotta
lot
be in
to
your
assume.
Home. Yeah, but assuming that you don't have any like because it's a networked
Yeah.
handheld device versus, like physical download. So we'll see how it works. But let's just assume it works well. Do you think that might cut in as well to
If it works
both
well,
Steam Deck and
yeah, I would
'cause
use
there's
it
a lot
for sure.
available on
Yeah.
PlayStation Store, right?
I love couch gaming. Like, so I'll often be doing this. It's like me and my wife will be watching a TV show, watching, I say in quotes, because a lot of the time I'm either browsing something on my phone or playing a game on Steam Deck or Switch, because most TV shows just don't hold my attention that well, right? So it's like I'll look up when there's loud banging and there's about to be an explosion, but mostly I'm not paying much attention at all. So yeah, if I can play some PlayStation games in that way, but I mean,
Street Fighter.
they did this on the PS Vita and the Vita TV, and it worked awful. It worked horrible.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it was really bad.
Pretty sketchy. I remember I used the Vita functionality a couple times. I mean, it seemed like the right direction at the time, but then it never was that good. So.
Yeah, even on your home network. So if this one works great, I mean that I'm sure that technology has come a long way. So maybe it'll work a lot better. But I can see myself playing a game like Final Fantasy on there. It seems perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, but even stuff like I don't know, for example, like I assume the Batman Arkham trilogy is available on the PlayStation Store, and like if it works, like if you're not going to take it with you, it brings up an interesting scenario if you have a PlayStation 5, and if you're not going to travel. It's weird that it has those caveats that I think that's why it probably won't cut in too much to Switch and Steam Deck.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of work to worry about that stuff, but
the only thing that tempted me to buy that is so I can make a video about how much it sucks.
I think it's called Project Q or something is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a PlayStation controller, but then they cut in half. They put a screen in the middle, and it's like Wi-Fi connected to your console, so it can play games based off
the
your console.
long cat.
It's like a Wii U.
PlayStation 5 controller. Yeah.
Turns your PlayStation 5 into a Wii U without the touchscreen.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to come out like later this year or something, right? I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical, so we'll see. Yeah, PlayStation 5 over Wi-Fi just doesn't sound right to me. But the tech, as you said, is hopefully come a long way.
Yeah. I'd rather just put like a second TV next to the big TV.
Now you're talking.
Now we're talking, right?
Yep.
Briar, I know you've been playing a lot of Street Fighter, and you were looking to jump into a new gaming experience.
Yeah.
Last week. Have you done that? Have you jumped into any of the games?
I have purchased Final Fantasy.
Okay.
But I've been a little busy. I had a busy week with like kind of non-gaming related stuff. So I just haven't had a lot of game time this week. Summertime is like that though. I just play less video games in the summertime. I play more video games in the winter, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, but Final Fantasy is sitting unwrapped. Wrapped still. It's actually not sitting next to my PlayStation. It's still downstairs next to the TV because I'm planning on bringing the PlayStation downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to play it on the big screen.
Yeah, I gotta say, I see Tomo using it on our living room TV with like full HDR, 4K, everything, and I'm like, damn, this looks really good.
Yeah. How's the performance? I was actually watching a video about the performance of that game, and people were a little displeased about the performance mode not being able to lock in at 60 or even hit 60 most of the time.
Yeah, so performance mode allows you in combat to go to 60. It is 30 when exploring.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people were like, I'm just going to play it at 30 because then it's just like a lock 30 experience the whole way. But when I did that, for me personally, the 30 FPS mode makes the motion blur very, very noticeable.
And there's no way to turn it off.
No, they are going to put in a way to turn it off later. I don't know when that's coming, but that was like one of the biggest points of feedback from the demo. So that will happen. And then maybe I could play 30 FPS at that point. But I did try it in combat and I was like, man, now I'm just used to seeing this in 60. It is really hard for me to do this combat in 30 now. So I've personally been really enjoying it in performance mode. The only time I see frame dips really are in like packed towns. But besides that, it's been pretty smooth.
Yeah, my brother's been playing a lot of it, and I know I'll probably be fine with it, but I have to say, walking by and seeing a lot of like the sort of like motion blurry, just the slower stuff. It's not exciting, and I was like, oh man, I wish I knew when the PC version was coming out. Like, could I just hold out?
At least a year.
Yeah,
it's
definitely the kind of game you would want, like full 60 throughout. But that being said, because the battles are I guess, pretty much 60, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
good. At least the important part that matters for that. But
Yeah, it's really just the motion blur for me on graphics mode. I couldn't handle that personally. So
And they turn
yeah.
it off for the performance mode, or you
No,
just
it's
don't
just way
notice
it's
it because
way
of the
less
60.
obvious.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
you have to like instead of turning your camera a little bit, you have to turn it like whip it around to see like a lot of motion blur. Whereas in 30, I can
it's
see
like
it
super
like
heavy.
right away. I move the character a little bit, and I'm like, oh Jesus.
Did developers just not know that we don't like full screen motion blur? Like,
I don't
what
know.
the fuck?
I don't know. I don't want screen
It-
shake. I don't want motion blur. I don't want either of those things
Can you
personally.
not tune it down or turn it off? I
No,
wonder.
that was one of the
You
biggest
can't.
feedback points from
It-
the demo there.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
normally has to do more with the like the texture representation and a bunch of like little graphical things that you wouldn't even think about unless you're a graphics programmer. That the amount they do maybe is probably more under question, right? But I think it's almost like you have to, or it just doesn't look great.
Yeah. Like there's some
Um,
times where I feel like it looks good. Like when they do like per object motion blur, like when you're
Mhm.
bringing up your gun to the sight to like your face and like the gun kind of is blurred a little bit as it's moving. But when they do that like full screen motion blur, like you're moving and it just like smears the whole screen, you're like,
Mhm.
ah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would rather have the option of like, yeah, say your game looks like poop. If I turn that off, I can at least have the option of like, you know what? This looks good enough for me. Without the motion blur, I'm happier without it. So
Yeah.
I'd rather have the option that it's the year 2023 and we're targeting 60 frames a second as the standard. It's like
it
over.
seems like we're
I will-
going back.
Yeah,
Fran.
I
It
don't.
seems
I,
like
We've
people,
never went forward on console is the problem.
well,
yeah,
we had a little bit of time, but it did not last long. And now instead what they're doing is like pushing everything else up and like sacrificing frame rate to
Yeah.
push it all up. So we're
It's
back
this-
to like 30 FPS.
Yeah.
this game
I
runs
wish-
as low as 720p to trying to hit that 60 FPS, which is
Yeah. And I'm sure that it could I know that it could if it had targeted it throughout is what I'm saying. Like, look,
Yeah.
I'm not a programmer developer, but like if you're targeting, you probably got to target like 70 or 80 frames to hit 60, but you cut a lot of corners and like this thirstiness for, 1440p or 4K and like all of this, the marketing side too of like hitting higher resolutions.
Well,
And it's just like,
my PlayStation 5 said 8K on the box. I am ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Big gold emblem.
I hate it so much. Yeah, I mean, dude, it always strikes me as, I was glad when the Metroid Prime remake came out, but I was like, I cannot believe that game ran at 60 back then.
Yeah.
And that it was, to Watts' point, like at that time, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, finally, like, man, I can't wait for the next generation of consoles. Like, everything's zooming. And then you're like, what's going on? And it just keeps happening because I know there's more, but it's got to be that simple at the core of it. You cut corners, and that's fine. But, the other part of it is you're competing with other games that look 30 FPS in screenshots. And so, like, there's this constant, like, we got to look as good as that game.
But it's not like gamers are pouring over magazine screenshots anymore. People watch video, right?
Yeah, but I mean, but the marketing on just like Twitter or otherwise, because
Yeah.
other games target and can like Elden Ring or whatever, and it continues to be this like, what's the best looking game? And so everybody's, I mean, I'm just, speculating on that part, but it feels to me that's a big part of it too, is developers have a competitive spirit to have the best looking game. But because 30 is like just accepted on console in particular, because console is the lead platform, we just keep getting stuck with it.
Yeah.
So over it. And then we have all these bad PC ports because they're trying to co-release ports of these games at the same time, which is a whole nother problem.
See,
that
and
really
that's
grinds my
where
gears.
Final Fantasy team's doing it right, because they said this isn't going to be a port. We're actually like building it for PC. That's why it's not going to be ready when the 6-month exclusivity is up. It's probably not going to be ready in a year. They're actually like building it for PC.
Oh, did they actually disclose that it was only a 6 months exclusivity?
Yeah, right when they announced Final Fantasy 16, it was like, yeah, it's a PS5 exclusive for 6 months.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I would have figured it was for a year. Interesting.
It might be
But,
better to wait on that PC version then. I don't know. 30
I got
30
this
FPS in an
game.
RPG doesn't bother me that much, honestly.
This game is like probably gonna be unless they completely poop the bed. But I'm like 30 hours in, and it's easily one of the best games I've ever played in my life. It is incredible.
Did you just say it was okay because it's an RPG, Brian?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't.
Shame on
Are
you.
you
I was waiting for you. I can't hear him yet. Did you mute it or you just?
Oh, am I not?
You didn't.
Oh,
know
you might have just been talking like the was maybe too short for your mic to pick up.
I don't know.
I was trying to cut him off.
30
It was
FPS.
intentional. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Well, combat's
Super-
amazing, and that's
Super
in
high action
60.
game.
I don't know.
My
Like
point-
I've always known the 30 FPS feature of the Xbox Series X and the PS5 was coming. And the only reason we were getting all these 60 FPS games is because they were PS4 games, like they were co-made for PS4, right? So yeah, we could make this awesome looking 30 FPS PS4 game, release it on the PS5 at 60 FPS, and it looks great. Yeah, of course it does.
See, we all wanted them to drop last gen so we could get the 60. No, they're bumping it all up so we get 30.
I mean,
This is part of the problem. This is
The
exactly
monkey
what I'm
paw.
talking about.
we had
Who cares
PS3
when it-
games running at 30. When we got the PS4, they didn't all start magically like being released at 60. And the same happened PS2. They didn't all start magically. Actually, there were probably more PS2 games that were running at 60 than PS3 games, just because they had to run on CRT televisions
Yeah.
interlaced, so they kind of had to be 60 FPS. Others, they look all goofy.
Yeah. Maybe that was part of it. And there's plenty of games that were just 29.97.
Yeah.
But yeah, but you nailed it right there, which is you're like, well, it looks like a PS4 game. And I'm like, no, but it's 60 frames. Like, man, just the fidelity impact. And people don't realize it until they've played enough and get used to it. It's very hard to go back and like, it just needs to stop. But like, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima came to my mind right there. I'm like, when they did just the PS5 upgrade for that,
Yeah.
I was like, this game looks incredible. It looks so good. And like, again, like if
And the combat
You
became
take-
easier and more playable too, because like it feels like you have more time
timing
to
and
react.
everything.
Yeah.
But you do. You have twice the time. You literally have twice as many frames.
They
in
should
your
charge
eyeballs.
120 because I'm literally playing twice as much game.
That's true. There you go. That's what it's gonna be.
Only you'd fork over that $70 more often, and we wouldn't have this problem. That's why.
The only reason I don't buy
everything's
more
30
games is because I literally don't have time to play them. Literally don't have time to play them. I have unopened games back here that I bought and I never played because I just ran out of time.
Heard that. Heard that.
But I've only played Final Fantasy since it came out.
But you're loving it, Watts.
Oh,
Are you,
so
like,
in love with it.
You think you're
Combat
almost
is
finished with it, or-
incredible. Oh no. Oh no. No.
What's the time to
I-
beat on this?
I think if you golden line it, it's like 50 hours. But I'm not only just doing all the side quests, but we're also stopping and using the active lore like all the time. So active lore, if you guys don't know, is you can hold down a button and it brings up lore on the things, topics, and people that are important for you to know about that are in this cutscene.
Well, that's
So if
handy.
you're like, who's this person? I remember them, I'm not quite sure who they're affiliated with. You can bring it up and you're like, oh, okay, they're part of this kingdom. Because the story is very, at least where I'm at right now, is very Game of Thrones, right? So there's like this kingdom, and people are switching kingdoms, and yeah, it's really nice. And they also have like a map room, they've got a lore table, they've got a bunch of things for you to use to where you can really understand what is going on if you want to. So we're taking full advantage of all of that.
That feature sounds like a lifesaver if you put down the game for 2 months and then try and pick it back up in the middle and you're like, what was
Yeah.
going on here? Who's this?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah. Definitely. It's been super helpful. It really makes it adds to the cutscenes that I'm watching, right? Because I'm like, okay, I know who this person is. I know who they're affiliated with. I know who their family is. I know which kingdom they're from. I know what kingdoms they've been a part of. I know what powers they have. It's been really helpful to just fully enjoy everything. Because there's I don't have any questions about what's going on. I'm not like, wait, who was that? Or what
mean,
was
like-
that? Or when was that?
I really want to dive
So
into
it's-
this. I can't wait.
It's great.
Would you say the lore is as simple to understand as Elden Ring?
It's easier than Elden Ring. It's easy. But I did the same thing in Elden Ring. I read every single item that we picked up and,
Oh, yeah.
took notes in my notebook about all the side quests.
Yeah, see,
Like,
Watts
that
probably
was
did understand Elden Ring.
I watched so
Very
many videos by
yeah, me
like the
too.
Myelin of
Everybody.
the Myelin of Elden Ring. That it was. I probably spent as much time watching videos about Elden Ring as I did playing Elden Ring.
Oh, like
Yeah.
Fatih Vidya.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and-
Vati Vidya. Yeah, it really adds to the experience when you feel like you really feel locked in about what's going on.
Yeah,
It
and I'm too
really,
dumb to
really
figure
adds
out
to it.
myself. I have to have it really, really handed to me on a plate.
Yeah, when I stream, I can't. And it definitely creates problems. Yeah, I just get like anxious about moving things forward.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's
like that's
really
on me.
interesting, Fran, because I think people watching me play it have really appreciated how much we're like reading everything and taking time with everything. I've never seen people so invested in a story as this because they all know what's going on. And if they're ever like, wait, who is that and what happened? Because maybe they missed something, we can stop. I can explain it all to them and we're all back on board. And yeah, I think it's really added to playing the game through with everyone. I think it's added to all of their experiences, really understanding it all.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it probably helps a lot in Final Fantasy 16, and I haven't played it yet. Just at the quality of the cutscenes and performances, and like Square is so big on like really beautiful, engaging cinematics that that's a lot easier than getting like a crumpled note that you picked
Right.
up out of the dirt, and you're like, what?
I keep saying to people like your favorite blockbuster movie wishes they could make cutscenes this good or graphics this good or animations. It is really there's good games and then there's this game which is really it feels kind of special with everything that they're doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the side quests have been great and very dark.
Yeah, I can't wait to play it. I just all Diablo.
All Diablo all day. Still grinding away. Have you finished the main story?
Oh yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. So now what are you grinding up to a level 100 or?
That's where I'm at in terms of like figuring out. Am I definitely gonna go to 100? I want to. I hit level 80, which is already it's just from 50 to 80 is a very.
You're
big
almost
grind already.
halfway there, friend.
I know that's what they say, XP wise, right?
Yeah, 85 is the halfway mark of XP.
And that's the only thing I haven't seen is that power per hour. But is the hours and the ability to gain XP faster? I think it is. So even though you have the same amount of XP to go, I wonder if the hours are the same. It probably is close though. I mean, I've seen people like they're like just getting past like one level on level 90 is like brutal. But
Really?
So we'll see how I feel about it. I have to be engaged with like the drops and like just the fun of the dungeons and the bosses and like there's even as much as I'm loving the builds and getting unique stuff, there's like brief moments where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to do a lot of the same stuff over and over again. It's like build testing at this point and gaining. Their Paragon tree is the most interesting part about that grind. It's really cool. You gain. I mean, if you don't know what the Paragon board is, it's this big board of blocks and nodes of little increases in stats, +5 intelligence, +5 dexterity, +5 willpower, and all that stuff affects your output. But they have these big nodes. So just to use a simple example, I'm an earth druid, so a lot of earth magic, and then they'll just have like on one of the boards it's like this huge 30% upgrade when you get to it. So once you reach it, it's a big upgrade. And once you get that first taste, you're like, oh, there's another node over here. It's nice, And then, of course, they sort of, in the game, it's somewhat artificial, but also kind of true. But meaning as you level up, the enemies scale with you. So they have, I'm pretty sure, right, they have bigger health pools. So your numbers are, like, naturally getting bigger, no matter what. I just haven't played Diablo in a while, but I'm like, it's a weird feeling in some ways where I'm like, well, of course the numbers are going to be bigger, which makes you feel more powerful. But then I'm like, wait, am I?
But you're not killing anything faster because they're more powerful
no, but
too.
You are though,
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean, the numbers start to get like really big versus where you're at, so you always feel this progression, and you feel like a big part of that is the Paragon board, and some of the drops can be life changing too. So it's got a lure of the ability points, right, and the loot. So I mean, yeah, like just this weekend I got a unique item that. And I haven't looked up builds. I've heard of builds for what I do, but I've ended up just doing the whole RPG, stick to what I'm doing. And yeah, I got a unique drop that I was like, this works for. I'm all right. And I got like super excited, and then I changed my build slightly, and it really was impactful. It was cool to have that moment at being at level 80, right? So I think that's why most people, if you're still playing Diablo past level 50 or 60, that's why you get really hooked into that side of it.
As the local Diablo expert, we need your opinion on the local drama.
Oh,
the first drama that happened was about seasons, right?
Yeah.
People wanted to. So if you don't know what's going on with seasons, basically they're gonna bring in a story. They're gonna bring in a battle pass, and the way that you progress these things and experience these things is through making a new character. So this will be your seasonal character. So I think people were kind of people that are brand new to Diablo were like, wait, so I can't use my character for any of this stuff, because they weren't aware of that. But people who were used to how Diablo works with seasons and that kind of thing were just wanting to be like, well, they were wondering why they can't progress the battle pass with their eternal characters.
Yes. Yeah, big drama.
Big drama.
Paul Tassi got himself in the mix there with a video he did. And basically the frustration of folks not understanding, I think, exactly what the season is. Some of it starts there. Diablo 4's launch and lead up to it, I would say from a marketing and PR side, was like unreal, like big. Not just they spent a lot of money, but they like they had so many things that they nailed it. So meaning leading up to Diablo 4, I think it was super exciting and well done. And then you get to like, and we have the season coming. And everybody's like, wait, when? And what is it? And how does it work? And they were like, they had a campfire chat recently that tried to clarify some things, but it fell into that Destiny twab or twid or whatever it is now, of like, wait, what is it? We're going to have to wait till like next week's update or what? So without getting into the details, as someone who's come back to Diablo and never played it super duper duper deep, and I haven't played like Path of Exile, and I like these types of games, but yeah, I'm on level 80, and I've probably played, I don't know if it's 150 hours or 200. I don't know. It's a lot. What irks me for sure is the idea that, who knows, maybe I do start playing some other games right now, and I'm still grinding Diablo, and out comes the season, and I'm like, I'm not 100 yet. So I have to stop playing my other character to start a new character. And I get those. Let me stop myself and say, I want to play it before I really judge it. I'm not doing that like, well, I don't know. I think you got to play the content before you judge it. But anyway, my first inclination is definitely where I'm like, okay, wait, you got me working 2 jobs now if I'm not like level 100, because I really want all those Paragon points. But there's a lot that goes into a season with like putting everybody on a level playing field and all this other stuff. And so I guess we'll see, but it remains to be seen if they do have some solutions to enjoy the season still with your main character. If I decide that I don't want to grind, like, let's say a new character, like, are there other things for me to do? Like this, like side quests maybe that they add and some, I don't know. It's not clear
for
to me.
people who like this kind of setup, they kind of see it as like almost getting a bit of a taste of a new game every season, where they're going through and experiencing leveling up with different builds and different items and different missions and all of that stuff. So it helps keep it fresh for those players. For players who are like hyper invested into one character and that's what they tend to enjoy, and like kitting them out and getting them perfect and leveling them up, then it doesn't work.
Like somebody who only plays Hunter in Destiny.
Yes.
Yeah. But actually, you bring up good analog. So again, if people don't understand like what is going on with the Diablo 4 season, I mean, we still need to see. It's like mid to late July, but roughly what they do is they put everybody on a level playing field for a season. I think there's some leaderboards. Obviously, there's a PvP component. But then what's happening is by doing the season battle pass, you earn a new currency. You cannot pay to buy it. You have to actually play to hit those things. You earn a currency, and then you can buy like new aspects that change. Like it's almost like Destiny's artifact powers in a way that changes the way that you would play that season. But you got to do it with like a new character. You can play the same way you did, or you can start something new. So I have to play it to see how I feel about that aspect. But I was thinking about Destiny. I'm like, yeah, what if there was a component of Destiny seasons that was like, oh, you're re-grinding a different character. You might be like, oh, I've actually always thought about playing a Titan. Maybe I will for like part of this season. That's where I'm curious to see like how does it really play out. But I don't know, and I haven't played past Diablo seasons. So that was one piece of drama.
The next piece of drama was about unique items. And some very, 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 very rare unique items, as in, like, there's millions of play hours and, like, 2 of these items have dropped. So people were saying, and people were actually putting the 2 together, right? Of being like, once you get to level 85, there's gonna be this possibility of this item dropping. So people were like, so wait, I have to get to 85 to get the thing to drop, but I have to make a new character. So I'm like, never gonna get this thing to drop because I'm never gonna get to 85 and play my 85 character. And even if I spend 200 million hours playing my 85 character, it may never happen. So what's your thoughts on this, Fred?
So
The ultra rarity.
roughly true, but a few points of clarity.
Yeah.
Which we should clarify. It's not like you have to reset. You still, of course, on seasonal content. Let's just make sure everybody knows. Like, of course, you can still play your.
You keep
character.
your own. You keep it.
Yeah, of course you don't
lose.
lose. You don't lose anything. You can keep playing that on the same sort of ecosystem. But if you want to join the new realm, as it were, with a new season, you can go off and earn these new aspects and things. But that's where, again, it'll be interesting. Then comes in the unique stuff. So yeah, when you think about getting to level 85, it's actually just killing things that are level 85 and above. So if you're on a good team, and so you can actually get these drops before you hit level 85, but that scale is there, so you do roughly need to get up there. But anyway, yeah, they got these like super rare unique drops, which is a thing, I guess, in Diablo, and we don't really know how rare. And I think I just would personally stop the conversation there without knowing. Everybody's calling it super rare, but I'm like, the game just came out. Like, I'm just getting to that level, and I've made it like a full-time job. I think how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, how many people are even like able to get these drops right now? It's just too early to say, in my opinion, but I do know they are supposed to be super rare, but I don't know what that means in terms of a percentage, right? So there are people obviously above that are just not getting them.
Right.
So that, you know, it's
it
not
is
like
so rare, like Celis said in chat, it's so rare that they had to tweet that these items do in fact exist. So that's
yeah, but
the
again,
rarity.
like, and you're right. I just had to caveat it though with that. There's not a ton of people at that level.
Right. Yeah.
So
they haven't been playing at that level for a super long time.
It would have been cool if they could say the percentage of players, because they're not going to disclose the number of players. But if they could even say the percent of people who are able to tackle that, is like, is it like 5% of the people that have tried Diablo 4? It very well could be right now. And that's going to change as time goes forward. According to, let's see, I just looked it up. Adam Jackson, the lead class designer, he just had a simple point on him that says they are really rare. That's all we know.
That clarifies it.
Yeah. What I will say is I just got a badass unique that was really neat. Uniques are quite rare. They may not be really rare, but they're game changing in their own ways. And there's a lot of loot, a lot of builds. There's so much to do. So before you feel like you're getting something taken away from you, I think you should look at the other side, which is like, if you get really into this, and let's say I'm on like season 2 and I get it's Harlequin Crest, which is one of the big ones. And you probably would have just forgot about it at that point, but you get it. It is like getting Galahorn in Destiny, like old school, where you're like, oh my God, you would like flip. And I think that's interesting as long as there's plenty of other loot before it. Like, you don't always have to have, it takes, so we'll see how I feel, but I think there's that side of it, like stuff to be really special. You don't need it to play the game, but if you get it, you're going to be swimming. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, people haven't been at that level for a super long time. I think it may be, I could see people's point of it being a little counterintuitive with it being, you know, you have seasonal characters and you're playing your seasonal characters, and how much time are you going to be putting on these characters that are like, you know, at the level to where they will drop. Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. I don't think it's a bad thing, like you said, Fran. If you have a lot of interesting loot that can make interesting builds without that dropping, and then that's just like the cherry on top kind of thing, I don't necessarily think it's bad.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And there's another aspect here that many players don't know. Even me, of like, I haven't respect my character a lot, but they very pointedly, Diablo 4 is about the investment into your style, and that's what's really interesting. It gets very expensive and costly and time consuming. Some people are gonna hate that. They're like, and I thought I was going to. I'm like, I just want to play with the builds, man. It's the fun. Like, why are you making me do this? But you get so invested, in other words, that even like some of these uniques probably will just be great upgrades regardless, but they might be for very specific builds, in which case, even if you get them, you're spending a ton of time and money to respec. And but the point is, you're making, like, you're living this RPG aspect of it.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting aside when literally it's millions of gold in the game to like respec your character. It gets even more beyond what I know right now. When you start changing builds, it's very penalizing. So my point
We'll
is,
see how it shakes out
Yeah.
after it's been around for a bit longer.
yeah, to close the point, I don't want to say I don't know how I feel about it because I haven't experienced it, but
Right.
With that caveat in place, yeah, that was all. I have to see like how I feel about like waiting for a drop, or do I feel pretty happy and just want to play a new character anyway?
Should we wrap this one up?
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you all for joining us for episode 100 and I forgot. 17?
77,
Right, we got the
I think.
number
77.
right at the beginning. You know, that's
I think it's
That's like
77,
a
That's the
50%
177.
important
improvement.
part. That's
actually
progress.
100% improvement. It is progress.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you in a week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.